One night, it was deserted. The sounds of the crickets in the middle of the forest. A guy lived in a little tiny hut where he did not like. Of course, he couldn't afford an actual house because he did not have the right payments. He was all alone. It was a nice house, but it wasn't that big. After all, he did not really like living in big houses. He just liked to live in the middle of nowhere. But in one night, he was sleeping when he heard a noise of something walking towards his window. He got up and looked outside. There was nothing. But he swore he could have heard a noise like leaves crunching. So there was nothing else to do, so he just went back to bed. Until he heard the noise again. When he got out to look, there was a shadow of a man. He had red eyes. He was staring at him. He screamed, "Ah!" But when he blinked, the figure was gone. He just blinked in a matter of a second, and the thing disappeared. Surely it could not run so fast because a blink in an eye is so fast that it wouldn't catch up. So there was something weird about that. He will probably hear this paranoia night ever again. But it did not stop. Then he heard the noise of the closet. "What the heck?" he said. So he investigated, and he saw a huge hole inside of it. He did not know, but it was the perfect size for him to crawl into. So he crawled into it, and he kept on walking and walking. Everywhere he saw was just a dark next room with torches. So every room he went, it was the same room with the same torches and mount. And then, finally, he got out. He got out of the deep forest until he saw the figure right close to him. So he had to run back to his place and crawl back into it. And he never wanted to see him again. But it was not over yet. So he called the police. He talked to them for like a few hours until the man saw something in the window. It was the shadow figure with his eyes open mouth again. He screamed, and I did too. So I had to do something about it. So the cop went outside and investigated. He saw it and never saw it. So he left. The next day, I didn't know why, but I thought about going to the graveyard. So I did. So when I walked to the graveyard, I saw the figure standing right to a gravestone. I screamed again. And when every time I blinked, he got close and close. I ran back to my car. Then I bought some cameras and then set it everywhere in every paranoid room. So I turned on the loud old PC with the camera noise. I checked every room, but there was one room that was all dark. The camera was broken. I already knew that camera was broken because something broke it when I dropped it. But then I noticed there was noises coming in that room. So I did nothing to do, but I just ran out and investigated it again. I found out the black camera was facing towards the basement room. So no wonder why it was dark. It didn't break. I heard noises coming down the basement. I was way too afraid to go check, but since I went out, there was the eyes again. It grabbed me and threw me in the basement. And that is the end. Yes, where do I begin? It started in a little valley right next to Colorado. I was trying to look for houses in San Francisco, but I didn't find any of them that were cheap. They were so much expensive that no one could buy them. At least, I think. When I saw this house, I thought it was a perfect fit. When the host talked to me, he said that this house was haunted. There are these two kids that have been murdered by some unknown person, and then haunts the night. When you look out the window, you could see the kids outside playing, but sometimes they may look staring right at you and then they'll disappear. So it never happened until one night. I was reading a book about lots of cool things until I noticed the little girl and the boy were outside. They were laughing, they were playing, they were messing around, they were doing all that kid stuff. So I had to run outside with my flashlight, but they never found them. So since my bed wasn't there, I had to sleep on my couch until I heard them again. They were playing outside again, they were messing around, and they were doing all the kid stuff again. I got nervous. My eyes were directly at them. I couldn't stop watching them to see what they're gonna do next until I looked out in the other window and I saw the little girl that was angry. She had her teeth open, her eyes. She did not look friendly. I screamed, "Ah!" This is very bad. The story was true. But I did not call the police, but I did call the host. I explained that I did actually know the story was real. I saw the little girl and the boy playing until they were angry. The moon shining, reflecting on them, ran in the forest. I had to run too with them. Chased them down, ran in the forest until I reached into an abandoned homes. Everywhere was destroyed. And one of the little girls said, "You're the killer." It didn't make sense until I saw a wanted sign on the ground. It looked just like me. Now, it makes sense now. I was the killer. This story makes a lot of sense. One cloudy, weird day, his friend came over. They talked for a little while and did a lot of fun stuff till they were bored. Until one of them came up with an idea. "We should go to Jeffrey's house," he said. "We could go over there and search everywhere we can do." "Are you sure? That place has been abandoned for hundreds of years. Who knows what kind of bad things could happen," he said. "Aw, chill out. It's fine." After that, when they came out, they heard the thunder. Did you hear that?" he said. "It's just the thunder," he said. They kept on walking and walking to the deep forest. They kept on hearing thunder, but they didn't care. Until there was wind picking up. It was howling. "Ooh, it's just a little wind," he said. "Let's keep on going." So they did. They kept on walking until they heard hard rain raining down. "Ah!" he said. "Chill your wax. It's just rain," he said. They kept on walking and walking until they found the house. It looks like it's been beaten up and exploded by a bomb. Once they came inside, there was an old wooden door. "How are we going to get through?" he said. "Don't worry, I got my ideas." He kicked the wooden door, and all the chains or latches snapped and fell to the ground. They walked inside and through the weird noise till they heard footsteps. It was a squeaky noise up the stairs. "Hear that?" he said. "Yeah." "I don't think we're alone," he said. They kept on walking and walking. They investigated everywhere until they heard the noise of the shattered glass. It was upstairs in the basement. They all tried to investigate what happened. They went upstairs. The window was gone. "We're not alone," he said. "Someone's here. I can tell." And after that, they heard the sound of a deep voice laughing. "Did you hear that?" "No," he said. After that, he did it again. And then this time he heard it. "I heard it this time," he said. "Maybe we should leave," he replied. Are you nuts? We can't leave yet. We still gotta check out this place. Until...
Get out of my house,
the deep voice replied. And then they looked at each other. They kept on going and going until he said again,
Get out of my house,
he said. And then he replied, No, he said, we're not getting out of your house.
Get out of my house!
He got angrier and angrier. Maybe it's best to leave. No, we have to stay here. Until he roared,
Ah! Get out of my house!
He said. No, he said. They kept on walking and walking and walking. Then, when he went back up the basement, the chairs flew in the air, were flying everywhere. Wind was howling. The windows were moving fast as they could. They both were screaming until the chairs threw at them and hit towards the box. And then the boxes were flying. And then he said,
Get out of my house!
He said, No! They kept on replying. He laughed. They kept on walking and walking, and then they saw more. There was a noise of a creepy lady. Get out of the house! He said. No, we won't! They all both said. Rain was going on fast. It was raining like a raging fire coming out of the house. Get out of my house! He said. No! They kept on replying. But they couldn't care. They actually had to left. They ran downstairs and they tripped. There was something at the door. And they ran. And they ran. And then he tried to throw a chair and it didn't work. He kept on running and running down the stairs. And then he tripped. They fell down on the floor, bleeding. And the man was screaming, ah! Until they tried to unlock the door. Get out of my house, he said. We are, he replied. He kept on laughing and laughing. No, Dad, no! He got angrier and angrier and angrier. Wind was howling again, and it was faster and faster. Then the face of a man with no eyes, no hands, bleeding face melting in the eyes. It was teeth. It had sharp claws, and it was ready to run. They kicked the door open, and they were wondering how that door was fixed again, and then they didn't care. They ran back down. Luckily, they heard the sound of a police car coming by. They stopped and investigated the house. There was nothing. What are you boys doing in old Jeffrey's house? The cop said. We were just going to have a little scare. Boys, you should never mess with Uncle Henry. Uncle Jeffrey, he said. Jeffrey is a man who used to live by you. He would come and seek children, seek in their houses, and scream and attack them. And then you'll be gone. You shouldn't be around here. Luckily, we found you. So they got in trouble by their moms, and that was it. They never went back to Jeffrey's house again.